Hey everyone, and welcome to our very special Rumcast Year in Review episode for 2022. I am John Gulla.
And I am Will Hookinga.
And we are the podcast that talks all things rum related with the people who love and shape it. We are super excited today to be sharing with you our best rums of the year by category later on. But I wanted to start us off by maybe thinking of the year as a whole. Will, I think it's been a long and interesting year in rum for sure. Have you had a chance to kind of sit back and reflect on it yet?
Yeah, this is the time of year for reflecting, for taking stock, looking back at the year. And that's what we always like to do in this episode. Hopefully reveal a few fun and interesting rums we were able to try throughout the year. But I mean, yeah, man, it's been a great year for rum. It was really cool to look back at it and revisit. I fortunately, I think all of the picks I had, I still had some rum left, and so I was able to go back and revisit them. I've got some of them here with me today, and I'm excited to find out what yours are, because I have no idea. We, as is our tradition here on the Rumcast, we don't talk about these with each other in advance, so I'm excited.
I know, me too. I want to find out what yours are, and I also am going to be partaking in a lot of my picks this year as we're talking about them, to just kind of go through them again and be reminded.
Listen, we're recording this on the 23rd. It is a winter wonderland here in many parts of the country right now. You asked me what the temperature was. I'm visiting family here in Memphis. It's 5 degrees Fahrenheit currently. There's an inch of snow on the ground. They're doing rolling blackouts right as we were starting to record this. I was like, I just found out they're doing rolling blackouts. So hopefully we'll avoid it. And right then, the power went out. It was perfect timing. So hopefully we'll get through this without any power interruptions, but I'm excited.
I agree. It's I'm glad you're up there and not me. It's 70 something degrees down here in Miami, so I'm thankful for that for sure. But 70? A little jealous because yeah, but with the white Christmas that you have there, you showed me the snow outside. That is kind of cool.
It's not going to get above freezing until after Christmas, so I think some of this white that has dusted the ground will stay around, and that's very, very rare here in Tennessee. So it's a good time. It's a good time to stay inside all day and drink rum.
Maybe before we get started, I have, as is wont to do for me sometimes, have an idea that just kind of comes about that I subject you to, and most of the time you're a good sport with it, and you're like, yeah, let's do it, man. Sometimes tame the idea. So I heard this idea from a sports-related show recently, and I thought it would be fun and it would work really well in the rum vein, so I just straight up stole it. So essentially, what the premise is I'm going to give you a prompt, and it's going to be the name of a well-known celebrity. Okay. And you will tell me what rum bottle you would gift them for the holidays and why you would do that. So then
this after
is that you can... Yeah.
This is like a celebrity rum Secret Santa type thing.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Yes. Good idea. Yes.
All right. I'm into it.
Yeah. So then, after that, you can give me a celebrity name, and I'll pick a rum for them, and we can maybe go back and forth a couple of times and just see how it goes.
I'm already thinking of a few that'll be good for you. So I'm into it. Let's do it.
Good. All right. So do you want to jump in first with yours, or do you want me to start?
It's your idea, so I think you should steer the ship. Kick it off. Give me a name, and I'll try to come up with something.
Will, I thought of our common hobby here is rum, but you have some other hobbies and interests, and the first thing I thought of course, was basketball for you, and so you're going to have to give a rum bottle to this player who's probably, I think I feel comfortable in saying he's the most well-known player in basketball right now. Okay. And in the conversation, maybe for best of all time. I don't know if that's...
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to go with LeBron James.
King James. All right.
James, you got to pick a rum for LeBron James this holiday.
Wow, what to give to the man who has everything. I think you correctly set him up, by the way. Definitely the most famous player right now. And people would definitely say in the conversation for the all-time greatest. I still have MJ up there, but I understand the LeBron argument. He's going to become the all-time leading scorer this year, which is pretty cool. So anyway, but if I had to give him a bottle of rum, I'm thinking about LeBron. He's a corny dad, which is one of the things I always think about him first and foremost.
I like him already. Okay.
Yeah. I think you'd like that side of his personality. He is part of a tequila brand. I believe it's called Lobos Tequila.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
But he's also a big wine guy, which I more casual observers may not know, but he's very into wine, knows a lot about wine. That's kind of a big thing in the NBA right now. There's a lot of guys are big into the vino. But so knowing all that about him, I think I need to go with something a rum agricole, right? Because I feel like people who are into agave spirits can kind of gravitate to that vegetal grassiness of rum agricole. And then I think wine people also, you can talk about the cane, the agricultural aspect of it, which is somewhat akin to wine. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give LeBron, I'm going to wait to reveal the specific bottle because it's one of my picks.
Oh,
and when I get to the pick, I'll reveal it. But it's an unaged rum agricole. That's what I would give to him, and because I think I could tell him the story of rum agricole, where it comes from. I think he'd really appreciate that. So, Merry Christmas, LeBron. Here's some rum agricole.
Merry Christmas. I like the idea of the tequila kind of vein there and how you're going with that. So I think that gives you a higher percentage shot, if you will, to be successful.
Risk, but how many opportunities? Like, I have to at least give him something memorable that stands out, right? He's an extremely wealthy person. Yeah. I think he's on the cusp of being a billionaire. He may already be a billionaire. So, I can't just give him something that tastes similar to what he's had before. I've got to blow his mind a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. All right. I think he's going to appreciate that. Okay.
Okay. So I need to pick someone for you. Well, the first name that comes to mind immediately, I'm assuming we can pick people who are dead. Is that allowed?
I didn't specifically state it was against the rules, so I think we can do that.
J.R.R. Tolkien himself.
Of course.
Your personal hero.
I've made it well known that I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings and really all things Tolkien. Even his translations of old English are really, really great. Beowulf
and others. What's the correct
pronunciation
right now, by the way? Is it Tolkien? Tolkien?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's Tolkien.
It's one of those names I never knew exactly how to pronounce it, so I just kind of Tolkien, just kind of mumble the end of it.
Nope. Okay, hope I didn't notice. It's Tolkien. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, to be specific. J.R.R. Right. Yes, which, by the way, George R.R. Martin totally stole the double R.
It's a nod to J.R.R., right? Yeah.
Okay. An homage, if you will. Okay, all right. So Tolkien, wow. So first I have to go back in time a little bit here. Okay. I'm sitting around, I'm imagining the holiday party at the old pub where all the Inklings used to meet with him and C.S. Lewis and others, and thinking about what I would want to bring to the table there. Knowing Tolkien, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is I want to blend.
Okay. Why?
And because I think Tolkien's strength as a writer is to blend and come up with all these different cultures that he creates languages and histories and motivations for, makes them all work together into one major narrative that kind of leaps off the page for me. And that's what I want to do, is I want to have a rum that's a blend and that leaps into this one bottle. So I think it's only natural that I'm going to go with one of the finest blended rums that is out there. Okay. And what I would consider somehow it feels Tolkienian in name. Tolkienian, like if I can use that. Black Tot. I'm gonna go with Black Tot. The Black Gates, and other things that are in Lord of the Rings comes to mind. But Black Tot. Now, if I really, really wanted to go high end here, and I could find a bottle of Last Consignment, of course that would be fantastic. But I don't know that I can pocket that.
Oh, I mean, this is a fantasy exercise, John. So come on, do Last Consignment. I mean, I feel like that's a rum that has lore attached to it. So that's very Tolkienish. And also, I get what you're saying with bringing all these different places. It's an expansive rum. Like, it brings stuff from different parts of the globe. And that's kind of what I think of when I think of Tolkien. I really like Game of Thrones, and that's what I think about with George R.R. Martin as well. And I know he's inspired a lot by Tolkien, though I know you would. I see your face right now, and you're like, don't compare them at all. Don't put them in the same sentence. I mean,
it's clear where he's taken off from, but it's also clear he made his own thing, which is good. You don't want him to have
the big expansive worlds with really the world far-reaching history and stuff like that. So the blend, it's spot on. I like it. Yeah. Good pick.
Good. And, one other thing to mention is, although he wasn't in the Navy, he was in the British Army during World War I. I have to imagine that they had some decent rum then as well.
He probably had some. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't. Did the Army get it too, or was the Navy just hoarding it all?
We need to phone up Mitch or somebody else and ask them if that was the case. But I can totally imagine him smoking on his pipe and sipping some black tot. So
that feels very fitting. Okay.
All right. So
who else is on my list?
Yeah, for you, I also think this is a person you mentioned watching a documentary recently on this one. And I watched part of it, and I did find it interesting. I did. I watched part of it.
You didn't finish it?
I didn't finish it yet.
Come on.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. Give me a break. I had to prepare for this. So I'm going to go with one of your personal heroes, I think, Bob Dylan. I don't know if that's probably a little strong, but I know you like Bob.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say he's a hero. I try to be careful with that word because you can't rely on anyone to be a hero now. You know, you name someone a hero, and then the next week, you find out they're a dirtbag. But
that's fair, and I think Bob would outright reject that term as well.
Yeah, definitely. I have been a big Bob Dylan fan since I was probably like 16 years old or so. The documentary you're talking about that I recommended to you is called No Direction Home, and I think it's on Netflix. It was directed by Martin Scorsese. It's a great documentary. I always recommend this to people who tell me they don't get Bob Dylan, which I think was kind of like, I know you like him as a songwriter, but you're not a big fan. You know, the voice is a little bit hard to get past.
Yeah.
But it's what will, I think, really kind of show people what makes him special. And, okay, God, what am I going to give Bob Dylan? Okay, well, I'll go back to what I just said right there. So whether you love Bob Dylan or you hate Bob Dylan,
okay,
you will recognize his voice anywhere it shows up.
That's true.
It is distinct. Some people love it.
Him.
Some people hate it. What rum is exactly like that, John?
Hamden?
No.
What? Wait, another rum that's distinct that you can't mistake.
Hampton is distinct. It's recognizable, but the one that is really divisive is Caroni, right?
Oh, of course. Okay, I was going to go either there or Savannah High Ester. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think Bob Dylan is a storyteller, right? And the story of Caroni, however you want to say it.
That is I like that, yeah.
You know, it's got the mystique to it. Bob Dylan's got some mystique to him. And it's just, if you put a little bit of that in a blend, you're going to know it right away, right?
Yeah.
It's got that love it or hate it kind of thing going, which I think Dylan has. So I feel that's appropriate. I'm going to, I don't know what bottle. Maybe that Velier one that's in the, like the yellow label with the naval scene depicted on it. It's very pretty. It was like an anniversary bottle. It's like an approachable one. So I think that's what I would give old Bobby D.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I think I buy into exactly what you're saying with the through line there of the story and the mystique and all of that. It does feel very Dylan.
Okay. So I have to give you someone. I know you're a big Miami sports guy, so I'm trying to think of legendary Miami sports figures. I think the one that comes to mind for me the most. Did you ever watch the ESPN documentary?
30 for 30?
It's called The U, right? The 30
There's
for 30
the U 30 for 30, yes.
Yeah.
There's part 1 and part 2, actually, yeah.
So when I think of Miami, I think about that era, and I think about Jimmy Johnson.
All right. My favorite coach of all time, actually.
Even though he left?
Yes. Well, he left and he went to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan also. I don't know if that was like
You're one of those
known.
people. I forgot.
Well, I mean, he made such an impression on me at the University of Miami for football that I jumped in. Remember, he was 1-15, I think, that first year at Dallas.
Wow,
and
was he?
I stuck with him. Yes. And my family at the time, I think we all picked different teams besides the Dolphins because we were so down on them.
Okay.
And I picked the Dallas Cowboys. And then, of course, 2 years later, he wins the Super Bowl with them. So, like, at that point, it's like, you're cemented as a fan. So I've been a miserable Dallas Cowboys fan since 1996.
I know some miserable Dallas Cowboys fans. So yeah.
All right. So for Jimmy, I think I'm going to go with the obvious route here. But before I do that, the first things that come to mind for Jimmy are he's a South Florida guy, like you said. Not only did he coach Dallas, but then he moved to Miami Dolphins and coached them afterwards. So he was both with the University of Miami and the Miami Dolphins. Didn't win anything with the Dolphins, but, same story there. And he's like notoriously loves the Keys.
Oh, really? I didn't know that about him.
Oh, yeah. He lived in the Keys. I think he might still live in the Keys actually right now.
Okay, nice.
And I'm not sure exactly where, but I know he's a Keys guy. So the first thing that I thought of was like maybe a Keys distillery rum, but I don't think we've ever said this rum on the program before, and I'm not sure I would want to give it to him. I'm sure somebody else has probably given him the PP. Or wait a second, I guess I can't say it like that. It's
are you talking about the Hemingway rum?
Yes, I was going to say the Papas Pilar, but yeah, that's much better than PP. So I'm not going to give him that.
Yeah, I'm going to give him. Move.
I'm going to give him. Well, it was just one thing that came to mind that kind of gives me a Jimmy Johnson feel.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm sure people have given him that. And, let's be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the rum.
Right. So I was trying to say without saying, yeah.
So I'm going to go with, instead, Appleton Hart's 1984.
Oh, okay. I'm guessing this is a significant year. Is that a year he won a championship or something?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Well, I think actually, technically, it was the first year he was the University of Miami coach, head coach, and also the year we won the national championship.
Okay.
So it wasn't him as head coach yet. I'm going by memory right now, but I'm pretty sure I have that right, that he wasn't head coach yet. It was Howard Schnellenberger or somebody. But he did take over as head coach in 1984 for that program, and I think that's what escalated his career. And then secondly, Appleton Hearts is just a fantastic, expression. Yeah. And yes, I couldn't think of a better gift that somebody would appreciate.
Cost
in terms
is no
of the rum
object
itself.
to us in this fictional exercise.
Exactly. So. Right. So you're giving me carte blanche here. You're giving me a blank check. I'm going Appleton Hearts 1984. All right. So let's see if we can do one more for each here.
Okay.
And then let's see how it goes. So I'm just going to, I'm randomly picking a person here that I think is going to be difficult for you just because I want to be a jerk. And,
okay.
So we're just going to go straight up with Gordon Ramsay. You've got to go Gordon Ramsay.
I only know
him?
Gordon Ramsay through like the memes, like I've never watched any of his shows, but there's like
you've been able to avoid him. He's on like every show at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, the only food shows I watch, I've watched Top Chef for like over a decade. I really like that show,
but he's not really on that. Yeah,
he's not on that. Yeah. And I love the Great British Baking Show, which he's also not on.
Those are two great shows though. Yeah.
Paul Hollywood would have been a fun one, or Mary Berry. Those would have been good ones. Gordon Ramsay, I just think of him as being really angry and mad all the time. So I'm going to give him something that I feel like is a very angry rum. I'm just going to give him like Unaged Still Strength DOK, and just because I want to see what it does to him,
I think that's great because, since it's unaged, he can also say, it's raw! They're giving me a raw rum!
Right, yeah. That's good. Okay, so that's what I'm going to get.
Come on!
So you gave me a hard one about someone I don't really know that much about, so I'm going to try to do the same for you with this final one.
Okay, all right.
I know that you're a father. I
am.
Teenage girls in your house, correct?
14 and 15 now, amazingly.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with someone that maybe you've been, and maybe you haven't been exposed to this person through your daughters. I know lots of people who are fans of hers.
All right.
Someone who got her start in my city where I live, Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, all right.
Taylor Swift. What's the rum for her?
Man. So Taylor Swift. So first of all, I do know her pop songs, and yes, I have been exposed to her through my girls.
Okay,
but this was like a few years ago. Like the world of teenage girls will move swiftly. No pun intended.
She's still huge. She just released that Midnight's album. That thing. I think she had. Like every song on the top 10 at once was a Taylor Swift song.
I heard about this. And wasn't it the thing recently? Like she sold so many tickets at once through Ticketmaster, it collapsed or something.
There's like congressional investigations into Ticketmaster now, John. This is Taylor Swift's world, and we're all just living in it.
You're right. So what do you get for Taylor Swift that's going to even approach that? The only thing I can think of that comes to mind, it's kind of a tenuous connection here, but I think it works, which is I'm going to say she's a world traveler, but she probably doesn't get to Cuba very often. And I'm taking her to Cuba for straight up Havana Club 3. And hold on, wait. I'm getting there. Okay, I have a point here. We're going to go with Havana Club 3 because, of course, that is my ultimate daiquiri rum. Uh-huh. And we're going to need her to shake it off to get that daiquiri going. She's going to shake it off. Shake, and produce one of the best daiquiris out there and drink that with the Havana Club 3. So there you go. Made that connection.
You pulled it all together. I was laughing because you were like, she travels the world a lot, but she probably doesn't go to Cuba. It's just, I don't know why that made me laugh, but I mean, it's probably correct.
I think it is. I without researching, I feel like it's right.
Okay, wow. So our Celebrity Rum Secret Santa is now complete. Fun exercise. I was into it by the end. I wasn't sure I was going to go, but I think we should probably take a quick break and then get on into our rum picks for 2022.
Yes, the main event. All right.
Hey Rumcasters, do you want an easy way to stay informed about what's new in the rum industry? If so, check out therumlab.com, where you can stay on top of everything going on across the rum world right now. From their detailed infographics that dive deep into individual rum expressions, to their weekly rum newsletter, to live streams with leaders in rum, there's always something new to learn. Plus, you can get all the info on their annual rum events they put on across the United States, like Miami Rum Congress, New York Rum Fest, Chicago Rum Fest, LA Rum Fest, and San Francisco Rum Fest. So visit therumlab.com and sign up for their newsletter now so you don't miss anything that's happening in rum. That's therumlab.com. Now back to the show. All right, so we are back and ready to dive into our picks for our favorite rums from 2022, our favorite rum experiences for 2022, however you want to think about it there. But John, before we get into those real quickly, I also just wanted to, I want to give a shout out to the listeners and just say thanks for making 2022 a great year for the Rumcast. Usually we save this kind of stuff for the end of the episode, but you know, not everyone makes it to the last 2 minutes of the episode. So I want to go give a shout out to all of you right now. It's been a great year for the Rumcast. We were up to 70 episodes now. I actually just I looked at our Apple Podcast ratings. We have various amounts of ratings across like Spotify and Apple and everything. And I know we've been over 100 for a while across all platforms. But John, that Apple Podcast one, that's the one that the most people see. And right now we are sitting at 99 ratings, which is awesome. We so appreciate all of that help and feedback. When you rate the podcast, it helps other people find it, and especially when you write a little review. And I did want to quickly call attention. We got a review recently from someone by the mysterious name of J Prophet. And it was a very lots of praise in the review, which I don't want to read now because us just reading praise for ourselves is a little weird. But it ended on a cliffhanger where Mr. J Prophet or Mrs. J Prophet said, "My only wish: make the end of episode lightning cue." And then it just stops. It gets cut off like I did earlier when the rolling blackouts hit. So we don't know what this wish for the lightning round is. And so Jay Prophet, if you're listening right now, please send us an email at host@rumcast.com and let us know what your one wish was. And
finish that sentence.
We will look into making it happen. But no, seriously, thank you to everyone who listened. It's been a great year. We were able to launch our Patreon this year. We're up to 75 patrons there, which really has blown away our expectations. And like the additional episodes we've been able to do there, the happy hours we do, we have a blast with all that. We've met some super, super cool people through doing that. So just shout out to all of you for listening, for sending in questions, for supporting the show. It's the community is become like a big part of why, what motivates us to want to do this more. And so it's been fantastic. to borrow a word that you like to use a lot, John.
I only used it once so far, I think. But yeah, I agree totally. And I can't say anything more than you've already said, Will. I just want to echo the thanks. And it really does make a difference. And I agree with you. The community aspect has really grown this year. And I love seeing that grow in addition to just general numbers, which I think in the last few years we've done like general numbers. We're not going to do that this year, but there has been a lot of growth in just general downloads. I mean, it's been fantastic to see. And damn it, I did it again, you see? It really has been nice to see the growth, and the community of just people getting together on that monthly basis has been fun, and we hope more of you will join us in 2023.
Yeah. And right, shout out to our top 10 countries. I always like to look at this. Top 10 countries: US, UK, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, Canada, Germany, Netherlands, France, and Singapore, unexpectedly. I didn't expect to see Singapore coming into the top 10, but so shout out to all of our Rumcasters around the world. We love y'all and appreciate y'all. But yeah, all that said, let's get into the picks. So, John, what we're doing here, we have, I believe, 7 categories that we do. So we have an unaged rum category. We have an aged rum that is 5 years or less category. We have aged rum 5 years or older category. We have new to me rum, which is a rum that, has maybe been around for a while but you finally got to it. Right. We have best value rum, most surprising rum, overall rum. And then we're doing one, we try to keep things positive, and I don't think this will be a harshly negative category. It's not like worst rum, but we wanted to try this new one where it's just a rum that like you kind of didn't get, maybe one that you heard a lot of praise for or people were enthusiastic about, and for whatever reason, it just didn't click with you. So we're not saying these are bad rums, but just rums that were just kind of head scratchers for us. We think that's something that a lot of people out there can relate to. We all kind of have those experiences every now and then where it's like, am I the weird one for not understanding this rum?
That's what we should call that one. Am I the asshole?
I the weird one? Yeah, am I the asshole? That's good. A favorite subreddit out there. So, okay. And I think to clarify a little bit, these aren't, we try to shy away from superlatives like best and stuff. We're not saying these are definitively better, the best rums in the world in 2022. It's more just like when we look back on 2022, these were the standouts for us in these categories. Each of us, we loved something about this rum. It was maybe our favorite in that category of the year. And we try as much as possible to do rums that were new in 2022. But
it is a tongue twister.
It can get a little tricky with knowing when rums were available in certain places, when they came out. Right. So some of these weren't necessarily released in 2022, but they're still on shelves in some way, and we just got to them for the first time. So anything to add before we jump in here?
The only thing is to keep in mind, obviously, we're U.S. based, and so the paucity of what is available for us versus others in the world. I mean, we want to try to include things that are global, but we don't always get a chance to get to those, or have the ability to fly and try them, or whatever the case is. So, just keeping that in mind, that we are limited by our U.S. shelves here for the most part. I do have some things that are going to break that, but
me too. Yeah,
but
we are at the end of the day, we're products of our environment and our rum markets. Right. So okay, so we're going to start with unaged rum. John, do you want to be the first to reveal your pick?
No.
You want me to go first?
I think I want you to go first because, yes. Just if you don't mind, in this case, going first, I think that would be good. Okay.
So this is probably the rum that has the most distance from 2022 of all my picks. So I know this has been out for a few years, but I came upon it for the first time this year. It was still on a store shelf. I purchased a bottle of it. I was thrilled to find it because I hadn't had a chance to have it yet. And honestly, I had it early in the year, and it just blew me away. I love this rum. It's just stood up as my favorite unaged rum of the year, and that rum is Nissan Organic.
Ah, yeah. So, I haven't had a chance to try this, but I've heard good things from you and others.
Yeah. So this is, if you're familiar with Nissan Blanc, similar. It's 52.5% ABV. I'm pretty sure it claims to be the first rum to be certified organic. I think that might be true. It was certified through an organization called EcoCert, which I understand you have to go through a lot of stuff, but basically means like no chemical fertilizers, no pesticides, I think like all native yeast and all this different stuff. So But if I had to describe like what stands out about this rum, like listeners will know you already know I love Nissan rum. But if you're comparing this to the regular Blanc, it's not quite this much of a leap, but it was almost like going from Dourly's to Foursquare ECS in terms of like you understand it's coming from the same place,
it's a step
but
up.
It's just like everything about it is turned up. You know, it's everything that I really love about Nissan, just taken up a few notches. You still got like that bright cane flavor. It's fruity. I also get this like buttery popcorn note from it that might sound weird with everything else, but I really love it about jelly this beans. Rum. And yeah, like the buttered popcorn jelly beans. And I just keep going back to it. It's fantastic. It's like the perfect ABV for the rum. It's just a great expression. And I think they do annual bottlings of this, like from different vintages. So it's just made me want to try to seek out more of them because it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The Nissan Blanc that I have is easily one of my favorite agricoles and unaged, maybe just favorite agricoles, period.
Yeah.
Unaged and aged. So,
and I was also, I think this rum did come out this year, the Père Labat organic. I had a chance to try that as well, and that one is also very good. I tried the 71% strength version, and that one is phenomenal. But honestly, the Nissan to me was above it. I found the Père Labat one to be, it just had like a little bit of this griminess to it, which it's still good. But the Nissan one just took the organic rums mantle for me for the year.
Yeah, the Labat Organic actually made my short list for this, for the unaged category.
I thought it might, because I know you're
by the way, we had a listener tell us that I only presume speaks French, that it's pronounced Père Labat and not Père Labat, like I've been saying.
You noticed I just
changed
it right there.
I did, yeah. So it is Père Labat. So,
please, by the way, feel free to correct our pronunciations at any time. we want to know how to say things correctly. And honestly, having a podcast is a very humbling exercise in knowing how to pronounce things. There's so many words that like, you kind of know how to pronounce them, but you're not entirely sure. And having a podcast forces you to to realize you may not know how to pronounce something. So
I can barely speak English as it is. So all right.
So you made me go first. So what do you have? Why? You seem like almost hesitant here. What's going on?
I am, because I was hoping you might have picked one of these two, because I had two picks for this category that I've been mulling over for at least 48 hours, if not more now, about which one was going to be my pick. And I can't do it. I can't pick. It's a tie.
No, you can't have a tie. There are no ties.
I'm breaking
on this.
The rules.
Come on. I cannot believe
it's the first
this.
category, and I was like, no, please. All right, so here's what it is. If you're forcing me to pick one, I will, but I'm going to tell you, in my mind, it's a tie, and there's a through line here. This is two rums that come from the same continent, and although they do share a little bit of something, they're very different also, both unaged rums from Australia. So this is Killick Distillery High Ester Rum at 59% ABV.
All right.
And Devil's Thumb from Devil's Thumb Distillery. It's a pair of Aussies, you might say. I have a pair of Aussies here.
I'm familiar with the Devil's Thumb, and I've read about the Killick, but I have not had Killick before. But I think I recall Lance from the Lone Caner having a very positive reaction to it.
There's a reason you haven't had it yet, and it's because I suck at sending you things. And it's actually in a package waiting to go to you now.
Oh,
so
wow.
you will have it very soon.
That's so sweet of you. Okay, I can't wait to try it.
You will have it very soon.
So this is a high ester Australian rum.
It is. So this is a molasses-based pot still rum from Melbourne, Australia. As I mentioned, there's a 59% ABV version. I think they also have a 42% ABV. This could have easily worked as my surprise rum of the year.
Yeah.
Because it's such an ester bomb, and that's usually associated with, unaged Jamaicans like Ray and Nephew or Rumfire and whatnot. But man, it really brings the fruity notes, a little bit of that bubble gum that you get in the Savannah High Ester, but not as strong.
That's a good thing in my book.
More friendly, yes. I think you're going to like this one more than that. But yes, it has some similarities there. What's interesting to me is I can still I feel like I can still identify this as Australian. It has that little bit of white pepper spice note at the end.
Interesting.
Yes, and I'm so digging it, and really would not have expected this from Australia at all, but they're pulling it off incredibly well. So,
do you normally associate that white pepper with like Ben Lee or something?
Correct. I was going to say, yeah, Ben Lee had the white pepper notes in a few different expressions I've had now, at least 3 different Ben Lees that I've found it in.
Okay.
It's not as present here, but I still feel like I get it on the finish, and it kind of connects for me somehow. And even more surprisingly is with the Devil's Thumb. So Devil's Thumb is an Australian cane spirit, which is a cane juice, and they can't call it rum there. I think Justin Bosley explained that to us early this year when we talked to him.
It has to be aged in Australia to be rum, so they have to label it cane spirit. But for all intents and purposes, it's still rum to us, right?
Yes, over here we still call it rum, but they label it as a cane spirit.
Yeah.
And it's 48% ABV, so a little bit more tame. But it's a cane juice rum, but it's not indicative of the agricole style at all. In fact, it's double pot still, and probably closer to a Haitian Clarin. And I think you said you've had this one. I had to make sure and check that this wasn't a white filtered rum, because I thought it was so well balanced for that 48 ABV, and I still get a slight spice note on the finish. It's something I associate with an aged rum, and it's still there. So,
yeah, it's been a while since I've gone back to that rum, but I had very positive impressions of it as well. And yeah, I would say going off the Clarin thing, yeah, I think production-wise similar. To me, it was much less aggressive and not as many like strange, unexpected, savory notes and things like that in it.
I almost picked this one as a daiquiri rum, because I think it would work well, but since it's the cane juice, it's maybe a little bit more indicative of the tea punch style. So I left it in also because I didn't want to remind you of it, because I wanted to have this for my pick end of the year.
Sure. Good strategy.
Yeah. Before you move on to your next one, for fun, I looked up how far these 2 distilleries are from each other in mileage.
Okay.
Do you care to guess?
Well, since you're bringing it up, I'm going to guess that they're far away, and I know Australia is very big.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say 1,000 miles apart.
It's actually 1,800 miles apart.
That's amazing.
Almost directly north-south. One is on the northern coast and one is on the southern coast, but it doesn't bisect it right in the middle.
But they're both like on the east side, right?
I think it's the west side, actually. Slightly more to the west than the east.
Like the west coast as opposed to the east?
Yeah.
East is to the right of the map, John.
No, you're right. I think it is East Coast. I think you're right. I'm sorry, I had it backwards. Wait, I have to do never eat shredded wheat. Yeah, okay, you're right. It's East.
They're on the right side of Australia, not the left.
They're on the right side of Australia if you're looking at a map. Thank you. It is East Coast. You're 100% correct. Thank you for that correction.
No
as I'm sipping this 59 ABV Killick. So 1,800 miles is further than Miami to Montreal. Just to kind of give us a kind of
the comparison.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I just thought it was really cool that I get both of these, Australian rums are unaged Australian rums are very good at what they do, very different in certain ways, but tie together in others. So I promise you I will not have any more double picks for the rest of this best of 22.
All right.
So moving on. Yes.
Okay. So next up, aged rum, 5 years or less. So I think with this, we're trying to highlight rums that are impressive for their young age, and to just reiterate that don't get too overly obsessed with the age of a rum, because you can find an aged rum under 5 years that is phenomenal. And my pick for this, I wanted to go with something that just I wasn't able to try this blind like before I knew how old it was, but I think if I had been, I really think I would have been fooled. And shout out to Rumcast listener Kyle in DC, who sent me a sample of this. You may have gotten one as well. This is a 2-year-old rum sourced from Le Gallienne Distillery in Martinique. Yes. It's a Grand Arôme rum bottled by an independent bottler in Europe called the Nectar of the Daily Drams. Very, very long name. But this is indeed, I would describe this as nectar-like. Very delicious. This is I know it's from Martinique, but this is Le Gallienne kind of specializes in molasses-based rum. So this is a 2-year-old molasses-based column still rum, 58.5% ABV, made in the Grand Arôme style. So basically Martinique's version of high ester Jamaican rum, long fermentation time. They use dunder in the making of it. And from what I've read, there's only like they only make one Grand Arome rum. So they don't have like a bunch of different marks like Hampton or something. They just have one. And I think the ester level is around 500. So this is a pungent high ester rum. And I think I buried the lead. It was aged 2 years in what the label describes as virgin oak. So kind of like what we were just talking about with Joshua Singh from SBS, who he has also been doing a lot of stuff with using new American oak and pairing them with very intense high ester rums and, you know, bottling them at only a couple of years old. And this one, like if you have it without knowing how old it is, I really think I would have thought this was, you know, at least 7 or 8 years old. Just the combination of the new oak when it meets something that is intense of flavor as a high ester rum, it's like they're able to tame each other, you know, because new oak can be very overwhelming, high ester rum can be very overwhelming, and they just achieve this balance. And I get a lot of cinnamon and chocolate right away, and a little bit of that like fruity, strawberry-ish, what you were describing as bubble gumminess, kind of reminiscent of Savannah Hare, but at the end, and it's just like a little bit, because I don't like having too much of that. And it's honestly, I was expecting it to be just kind of like an oddity, you know, just like, oh, that's an interesting rum. But I genuinely have really come to like this rum, and it just makes me excited for I feel like there's still so much possibility in these young rums and what you can do with the right wood and, you know, the right style of rum going in there. I'd love to see, like, I'd be really interested to see what would happen if you took this and now that it's had 2 years in that virgin oak, if you moved it into like a more typical, you know, ex-bourbon cask or something and just let it go for a few more years, because you can still, like, knowing that it's young, I can pick up on a few of the rough edges that wouldn't be there if it actually were 7 or 8 years old. Okay. So it just makes me excited for the possibilities, and it's definitely a very memorable rum for this year that I'm really glad I got to try.
Yeah, I like the way you explained it there earlier on. It almost felt like you were saying, so you see, son, when a new American oak barrel meets an intense agricole distillate,
it's not,
and they get together and they love each other very much. They're going to make that. I agree with the pick. I think it's a really good one, and I fully agree with your take on wanting to see what the future holds for this. And in fact, I will tell you that my pick is also from Martinique.
Oh, is it?
But it is not the same.
Well, don't keep me waiting.
So my pick here for aged 5 years and under just barely squeaks in at 4 years and 11 months aging.
All right.
And this is one that I'm not really sure what the availability was in all the different areas of the United States, let alone the rest of the globe. But it's a brand that's pervasive. Okay. And it's one of my favorites. You mentioned Nissan is one of my favorites agricoles as well. But this one is a more, I think it's more well known, but I still don't get to see a lot of it here. And that is St. James.
And this I thought it was going to be Rum GM.
Nope. It's St. James, the Rumview Agricole Cellar Reserve Single Batch.
All right.
And so this is a limited bottling, 51.3 ABV pure cane juice rum, of course, AOC. I picked it for two main reasons here. One is I don't tend to like too many agricoles that are aged because I feel like you start to lose some of the character in the grassiness and the vegetal stuff that makes it interesting in the first place. This is at least with my very little, I guess I would say, AOC agricole experience. Or, you know, I mean, relatively little. I know there's a lot more out there that we are not privy to and don't get as much here in the U.S. The ones I've experienced kind of prior to this and prior to some of the Nissans we mentioned and a few others, the aging process just didn't seem to benefit the rum as well as I would like. But there are some out there that do it well, and this is one of them. And I really enjoy this rum at this age where I feel like it's the right balance of aging to round the edges, as you mentioned, but at the same time, you really still get the distillate, and it works super well. The second reason, the second reason I wanted to highlight this one is because it's more of a selfish reason. I want to see more St. James limited releases in the U.S. market, and this is a good one.
Was this a store pick or something?
It was not a store pick. Okay. No, it's 5,000 or so bottles released.
Gotcha.
Matured in American casks is what it says on the bottle there.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry, it's 3,800 bottles that were released. So it's fairly limited.
Yeah, but not like it's not like a single barrel pick or that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It also wasn't super expensive. I believe this was $79.99 or around $85 and around there. So some people might balk at that for a 4-year and 11-month rum, almost 5 years, but it should be there. And I do think the quality of the spirit is here. And I see so many of these St. James amazing releases at cask strength being handed out, in other places in the world. And I want us to see those more on the shelf here, both in Florida and in the United States. And I think the only way to do that is to have people buying what's available now when they test the market to see, are these selling here? Yeah. So I wanted to say that this bottle is worth your money. It is a really, really good agricole expression, an aged agricole that I think is the perfect marriage of an agricole and aging. I'm sure there are tons. I don't want to get hate mail from anybody, our listeners, saying like, "Oh my God, aged agricole is amazing. What's wrong with you?" Yeah. I just haven't had the long aged ones that I've liked. I know they're probably out there, but I haven't been able to be experience those or be exposed to them. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my young aged pick here.
Now, I like the pick, and it's in fact, I believe my pick last year was a very similar type of rum. I picked for this category one of the Nissan single barrels that Ed Hamilton bottled, and I believe it was right around 4 years or so. And again, it was the same thing, that like perfect marriage, like you were saying, of still getting the cane, getting some great stuff from the oak. And I echo what you said, and I'd love to see more releases like that available here.
I think it's a good sign that we are not like we like each other's picks. It usually means we're in the right area for a best of. I long sometimes for you to say, "What the hell is wrong with you?" But at the same time, I just feel like for best of picks, it probably means we are picking rums that are.
I think maybe we'll get into the strong objections when we get into the am I the asshole category, right?
You may be right.
I may in fact be the asshole, so let's wait and see.
All right,
okay, so aged over 5 years, very big range here. I mean, I think this is probably the category where I would guess that most of the rums we have this year would be eligible for this category. So there's a lot to pick from.
There is.
And what I wanted to go with was just what I thought was a really wowing expression of long. Like, I wanted to go the other way, because at the same time, I think a lot of people have preferences where, once rums get past a certain age, they get too oaky. And so I wanted to go with a very long aged rum that I think stands up to the oak and is just... When I tasted this rum, it prompted a text to you immediately afterwards. So that's always when I know I've had something special. This was the Homesky Fiji 2001. This is part of the new Rarest Selections series that Homesky did this year.
It's like a holiday release, right? That they did these two special editions.
It just came out like within the past few months. So this is a 21-year-old rum from South Pacific Distilleries in Fiji. They actually claim it's the oldest Fiji single cask that's ever been released. I haven't personally verified that, but I certainly don't see very many 21-year-old Fiji single casks. So, but all molasses. This is a 100% pot still release as well. 2 years aged at origin in ex-bourbon, and then 19 years in the UK in ex-bourbon, presumably in Liverpool, because I'm assuming this came from the main rum company. Bottled at 53.8% ABV. And I think if you've had pot still Fiji rum before, this isn't new territory in terms of flavor profile. It's just a freaking phenomenal cask. Like it was just, it just blew me away. Like, you get all the weird Fiji funk, like a little bit of like the medicinal type stuff from it, but it just all comes together. It almost has this like floralness to it. And it's fruity, it's bright. It's still bright, even though it was aged for 21 years. And it just like comes alive. I think what I texted you, I said, tried Eric's Fiji last night, saw God. So that's how it made me feel when I had it. I've got a little bit here. This is just like the last swallow of what I have left. And I just had that, like, the finish just goes on and on and on. It's like I can talk and then stop talking, and it's like, oh, I've still got some like some finish to go on. It's excellent. So
yeah, it's not a cheap rum.
It's not a cheap rum. No,
not a cheap rum.
And this was a sample that I received, so I've not bought a full bottle, and I mean it's highly limited. So I guess I would have to look for a way to order this, I try to select rums that are easily available for this, but this one just impressed me so much when I had it recently that it was just fresh in my mind, and I loved it.
I think even if it wasn't fresh on your mind, it still stands up as one of the best of the year.
I still might be tasting the finish, even if it weren't fresh on my mind. So.
Yeah. Well, I can't say anything different than what you've said, and I definitely agree with all of that. I think it is a standout rum this year, for certain. So I'm going to go with my aged over 5 years, is also from an independent bottler.
Okay.
But it is not from Holmes Key.
Okay.
I am going with, this is also, speaking of fresh on the mind, I only tried this one, I think it was October or November for the first time.
Okay.
And it is an independent bottler that is new to the scene. Mm-hmm. And somebody that I think is going to be a major player moving forward.
All right.
Because I enjoyed this rum so much. I won't keep dragging on without saying what it is, but I will say I was surprised that I kind of took it a different direction than you did. You said you went the long aging, and that makes total sense. This is only 8 years aged.
Okay.
So it's not far above our category here. But what I did instead was said this was, in my opinion, one of the best aged rums that I've ever had from this island.
I'm not sure what this is.
So this is Guardian's Raising Glasses. It's Guardian's Trinidad 8-year rum from TDL.
Okay, I just tried this one as well, and the reason why I wasn't sure what it was is because I honestly forgot that rum was only 8 years old.
So did I. I had to double check the bottle after I drank and experienced this because it drinks like it was a longer aged rum to me. This is 67.9% ABV. It's up there.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know that going in and sip this, I would never have guessed it was that high because it is such a drinkable product. And for me, we've talked about, I'm not as much of a Caroni fan. I haven't really found a Caroni that I love. I can appreciate them for what they are. And I've had a few TDL bottlings that I've enjoyed. But to me, this is the best TDL product that I've ever had.
I'm not a huge TDL fan, and I really liked this one as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because the thing happened to me where I saw one of the tasting notes described on the label, and I try not to look at that stuff beforehand, but I saw it, and then I tasted the rum, and I was like, yes, it's that. And I can't remember exactly what it was.
I have it here.
What is it?
Because I think I share the same opinion as you, which is the writing that they put on the back of this bottle. The notes that I took away from it were it says it's surprisingly easy to drink, which check, that is very much correct. And usually people say that as marketing speak and it's smooth and whatever. In this case, they're 100% on the mark. It is easy to drink at 67.9, 0 water added. And then they also talk about having orange notes and tobacco notes.
It wasn't orange or tobacco. Well,
that's what I'm getting. And I felt I was like, yep, they nailed this one on the back of the tasting notes, which I don't always agree with. But in this case, it's perfectly aged and it's assertive. Love, love, love it. I think the 375.
It was passion fruit is what was on there.
I could see that.
And I really, I wasn't expecting to get that because honestly, my gripe with TDL rums has been I've had a lot of ones that I just find kind of boring, and I was like, passion fruit. I was like, that's an exciting flavor. I'm not expecting to get that, and it smacked me in the face, and I was like, wow. That was a surprising rum for me.
It is surprising, and the 375 milliliter bottle, we've talked about this before, but I like having that size. I have zero problem now buying 2 of these, and just because of the quality of the rum. So I think this is one that I'm going to come back to in 2023 very often. And if somebody asks me to try a Trinidad rum, this is the bottle I'm pulling out.
Nice. Yeah. No, I echo what you said about, we've talked about the 375 milliliter bottles on the podcast before. I wish every rum that I loved, especially ones that were pricey, came in 375 bottles. Because it's, I know that the cost probably comes down a little if you do 750, but I just don't need 750 milliliters of everything all the time. So it's really nice to be able to spend a little less money and still get a good amount of rum, but not have to commit to a whole 750 ml.
I'm right with you. And like I said, if it really is that good, I got no problem buying more of them. And just as an aside, a runner-up for this one was another independent bottler, Down Island Spirits, the Barbados 2011. I really enjoyed as well. I only mention that because I want to come back to that later as a theme. So,
gotcha.
All right. I won't say anything more about it. But yeah, on to our new to me category, I think.
All right. So new to me, this one, I mean, we've talked about this category being kind of like stuff that you know has been out for a long time and you're just now getting to it. I think one of the rums I considered for this that I think fits the category better than the one I actually picked. I was going to pick Velier Tiger Shark for this because I hadn't had it, and that's like Velier's kind of like their take on classic Navy blend. And
right.
I came upon a bottle when I was in Italy, but I'm not picking that, even though I think it fits the spirit of new to me a little bit better. But I'm picking another bottle that I brought home from Italy that is also from an independent bottler, an Italian independent bottler, but not Velier, called Moon Import.
Oh, no, I do not. Okay.
You see Moon Import all over. At least it was like everywhere in Rome when I was there. And this rum, it says that it was bottled in 2021. So, I mean, it's not a 2022 rum.
It's close.
But the reason why I'm saying this is new to me is because I cannot find one iota of information about this rum anywhere online. I have Googled this rum. I have searched for it in the Rum X app, which is particularly good at cataloging European releases because the app is made in Europe and came out there before in the US, so it has like a big backlog of stuff. But I just cannot find anything anywhere about this rum, and it's a delight. So when I tell people about this, they're like, "Oh, like I didn't know that exists. Like I haven't even met anyone who knows about this rum."
Yeah.
And there's apparently 720 bottles of it. And what this is an 8-year-old Appleton 100% pot still rum.
Oh,
so
wow.
When you look at the label, it just says it's got a couple of birds on it. It says Jamaica rum.
Oh, Dorley's is going to be pissed. Yeah. It's got a parrot on there.
It says Jamaica rum. Then underneath it says Appleton Distillery pot still. It's a blend from 2 barrels number 36 and 43, and this is bottle 413 of 720, bottled at 45% ABV. So another getting a little bit away from the higher strength stuff we've done so far. I really like, I think some people see 45% ABV and are disappointed, but I've come to learn that you can bottle stuff at that strength that is just as phenomenal as a cask strength rum, at least in my opinion. So I'm sure you could have this at cask strength and it might be better, but it's really freaking great at 45% ABV. And if I had to describe it, it's almost like, imagine if you took Appleton 8-year, but designed it specifically for rum geeks. So it's bigger, it's bolder, it's more sippable than Appleton 8, even though I think you can sip Appleton 8 and it's decent. But and then the big thing is much, much fruitier, which is kind of, if you've had Appleton Hearts collection, which are 100% pot still rums, particularly the younger ones, not like the 84 that you gifted to Jimmy Johnson earlier. There will be some familiarity there between those and this one. But I wrote this down in my notes. It's uncensored Appleton is how I think about it. So it's like that's cool. That's stuff that they have, but that they just don't let out that much. It's great. It's youthful. I really dig it.
I revisited an Appleton recently. I think it was Appleton 12, and still it's a workhorse rum. My palate has kind of gravitated away to it. To your point about sometimes we get caught up on higher strength rums, and I think some of the other stuff that I had tried that night, if you try them together with a rum that is a 43 or a 40 ABV, it's hard to do. So the one thing, kind of a suggestion, and this is probably a no-brainer, but if you're trying different rums, try not to keep a 40 or 43% ABV rum with cask strength at the same time and measure them against one another. It's going to be a fruitless effort in some cases. Yeah,
I would say this rum compares somewhat well with like Worthy Park's Estate Reserve bottling.
Okay. Yeah, which I love.
Which is great, and I believe that one is 45% ABV as well. I think I'd rate this one a little bit higher, but it's also it's harder to get and a little more expensive as well.
You have to go to Italy.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. Please, if someone has had this rum or seen this rum or knows about it, please send us an email at host@rumcast.com. And I just need to know I'm not alone in the world and that the rest of these 700 something bottles actually have found owners. So that was a really fun new to me rum, and I'm saying it's new to me because it might be new to everyone. I don't know. The internet doesn't know about this rum, so anyway, it's
they should do it's the Moon Island what was it, Moon Imports non-endemic bird series.
There you go.
All right,
just say it's an endemic bird and then people will shell out $300 for it.
Exactly. Yeah. As you're trying to quaff that.
Yeah, sorry. I was holding back a laugh, and I had some rum there, and not a good combo. So, all right, what did you pick for this category?
Okay, so again, I went kind of totally opposite to you in the sense of ABV at this point. I went with a cask strength rum here at 67.4%. This one has
back-to-back 67s, eh?
Yeah, was it the other one? I didn't. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, the Trinidad one was
67.9 and 67.4. Yeah, this one is a well-known reputation across rum enthusiasts for being fantastic. And yes, I used it that time on purpose, but I never had a chance.
You need to rebrand the John Gullah Fantastic as you have somewhat familiarity with Great British Baking Show, right?
Yes.
So you know the Hollywood handshake.
It's not coming to me right now.
So Paul Hollywood, you know who he is, right?
I do. The host, right?
He reserves a handshake for when someone has done something exceptionally well. He just quietly holds out his hand and like everything hushes and people are like, and you get the handshake. It's called the Hollywood handshake. It doesn't happen every episode. So what I'm encouraging you to do is you can rein in the John Gullah Fantastics, and then when you use one, it's like it's like, oh my God, it got the John
in the room.
Just like he is branded the Hollywood handshake, you need to brand the.
Mine's not alliterative though, so maybe I'll have to figure out a different descriptive to go with.
Maybe right. How about the John Gullah G Golly?
No.
Okay.
I veto that one.
All right. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Please continue.
Okay. So this one is well known across rum enthusiasts, like I was saying. There's various bottles of this at different years available.
Okay.
So I have not, I've had, I think, only the 7-year now and the 9-year. And this is the Hamilton St. Lucia series.
Oh, man. What a perfect pick for this category.
Yeah, and so this is the 9-year I have, where I was able to procure a bottle of this, thankfully, in St. Augustine, and it is stuck by my side ever since, because it's just so good that I keep coming back to it, and I'm like, oh my God, how is this like not more widely, I guess it is widely appreciated already, but, and maybe it's because it's now incredibly difficult to find, but it feels like this is a paragon.
I think they stopped selling rum to other people, so Ed couldn't keep bottling it.
And we talked last year about the master selections coming from Chairman's Reserve, which is also from St. Lucia Distillers.
They've kind of taken the place of those,
and those are really good. But I still think this one has that something to it that I like even more.
Those Hamilton St. Lucias are just incredible, and every time I see someone post about finding one of those in the wild, it just pains me even deeper because I've yet to come across one. I don't have a bottle. I've only experienced them through samples, but they're so good. And if you ever see a bottle of Hamilton St. Lucia, even if it's not the one John is talking about, they're all really good. Yeah, just buy it. Because it's also not going to be that expensive.
Yeah, that was the thing. It wasn't that expensive. Totally agree. For what it is, for a cask strength rum like this, it's well worth it. This is a rum that I think punches you in the mouth in the best of ways. It stays there. It introduces itself to your parents. It takes up residence in your spare room and just, lives with you from then on in your life. And I can't get enough of it. I hope to try some of the other different years just to compare it to this one. But I am holding on to this bottle for dear life, and only the best, most closest confidants and friends will get a dram of this when they come over.
Oh wow! So it's like the John Gullah Fantastic. Then it's just reserved for the best of the best.
The G Golly.
The John Gullah G Golly. All right, great pick. I'm jealous of that one. Moving on, best value rum. So this is another one. I know this didn't come out this year, but it achieved wide availability in my market this year. I see it in a lot of places. And it's for me, I think becoming sort of a go-to recommendation rum, particularly if you're newer to this category. And it's also one of the best it's certainly the cheapest in this category from this company, and it's just a great expression. It's Claren Communal.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
this is finally one I disagree with you.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, but you go ahead and talk a little bit about it, and then I can kind of rebut.
Okay, so first of all, this rum, just to give some specs on it, it's unaged. It's from Velier, and it's a blend of four of the producers they source Claren from. So this is a blend of Claren from Saint-Just, Faval, Les Rochers, and Casimir. It's bottled at 43% ABV, so lower strength than all the other Clarens. And I bought this rum for $30. And typically you're going to pay in the $40 to $50 range for the other ones. So, and for me, why I said it's becoming a recommendation is because I really think this is the intro to Claren rum for me.
It is.
A lot of times I want people to try Claren, but I'm a little afraid to recommend stuff to them, particularly if they're newer to rum. I don't know. Like, my go-to to that has been Saint-Just, but also I think it's typically well over 50% ABV, and it's still like, it's out there in terms of rum, even though to me at this point now in my rum journey, it's very approachable. Claren Communal kind of reminded me more of like, this is more like normal approachable. And by approachable, I don't just mean boring. I still think it's really good at 43% ABV. Obviously, it's not as intense. A lot of the more aggressive flavors and more offbeat flavors are dialed back, but I really think it's a beautiful blend. There's still complexity to it. It's still drinks like Claren, and it's just approachable. It's $30, maybe 32 in some places, but I think for what you're getting, in terms of like how the rum is sourced and everything, I think you're getting a great product, and I think it's a really good value buy, especially if you're wanting to, get to jump into the Claren pool. I'd recommend starting with that now.
Yeah. All right.
Tell me why I'm wrong, John. Tell me why I'm wrong.
I'll give you exactly the use case you just laid out, and I will agree with you there. For an introductory to Claren and for the value it brings at the price, I can't disagree with what you said there. My rebuttal has to do more with, for me, and for what I believe would be representative of a lot of rum geeks like us.
Yeah.
There is no reason for me to buy this one to sip on. If I'm using it as a mixer, great, I get it. So Claren, mixer, you're right. That's a good one. But if I'm sipping on it, there's no way I'm not spending the extra $10 to $20 for any one of those producers that I think is better on its own than just the Communal, which kind of gets rid of all of the weirdness and hones it in and puts it in its own nice little box, which again, for what you're saying is fine. But it doesn't appeal to me like the other ones do.
So I hear you, and this may just be where I just differ a little bit in terms of my own personal taste preferences. I would say I enjoy and appreciate all the other Clarens. The thing about them for me, though, is that I have to be in the mood for them. And that mood doesn't necessarily come around every day. Claren Communal, on the other hand, I don't have to be in the mood for it. It's an everyday. I could sip it, I could mix it, and it's just more that approachability. A lot of times we talk about approachability, and it's almost like we're talking about it just for the benefit of people who are newer to rum, but sometimes I consider that a benefit for myself too. And like I was saying, this is a rum that like I think I will go through a bottle of this quicker than I would the other Clarens. And I recognize some people are like probably screaming and being like, I totally disagree. Like you're wrong. I'm just saying for me that like that's where I'm at right now. Yeah.
No, again, I wouldn't dispute the value of it. The value is there, and it's a quality product. This is not me saying, well, you're crazy for picking it. It's not a good rum. It is a good rum. It's just in recognition of the existence of all the other single distilleries, I would pick any one of them before I would pick this one. And so that's where I kind of am like, well, that's the only kind of spot that I have.
I'm not surprised. But yeah, it's good. It's good to spice up the conversation with a little disagreement. So. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if you disagree with my value pick. I don't think you will. I think it's indisputable that this is a good value in rum. It's not going to be a surprise because we talked about it on our daiquiri episode a little bit. I mentioned it. And so I'll also keep this one short because if you want to hear more about this one, you can go back to that episode and listen, or you probably already have heard it. But this is Belize rum. It's Kopali.
I completely disagree.
You had that on deck ready to go.
Bullshitting. Yeah, go ahead.
Kopali Belizean rum is a really good white rum. This is an aged and filtered rum that they have. It's only 42% ABV, not a high ABV, but I like this one because it's similar to the conversation you just said where you can introduce people to this one and it doesn't overwhelm them for an unaged cane juice rum. It is also something that I think brings enough complexity to stand up for what you want it to do in a drink, or you can even just sip this. And I would also say, I said Kopali because I really think you could easily substitute that rum for the barrel rested rum, which is also really good. And the dark horse, we mentioned it, the cacao.
The cacao? Yeah.
Yes. The cacao is really cool. And so any one of those three are going to run you anywhere between 30 and 40 bucks, I believe. The aged white rum is 30-ish bucks, and then the barrel rest is like 35. So it's just a banger of a rum line altogether. And I can't see the value being beat there for any one of those. So that's all I'll say about them. Like I said, you can find out more on our other episode, but really, really good. Can't go wrong, I think.
Yeah, great pick. And I think it's fun that we both had, well, I'll say white rums for value rum. The Claren is completely unaged. I believe you said the Kopali is aged and filtered, but still kind of in that same category. So that's cool.
Yeah, both cane juice rums.
Yeah. That's true. Good point. No, I can't dispute that. I really enjoy. I mean, we talked about it, on the daiquiri episode. So I made my thoughts known there, and I will not disagree, even though I really wanted to. I haven't found a reason to yet. So maybe on these last couple of picks, we have 2 picks left. Oh no, we have 3 picks left.
3,
yeah. Okay. Most surprising rum. So this is a fun one. I'm going to go with something that I just received a sample of. Another Rumcaster out there, shout out to John, sent me a sample of this. This is Renaissance Distillery 2018 single rum Fino cask. Whiskey Exchange exclusive bottling. So this is a rum from Taiwan, which contributes to the surprising nature of it. Not because it's surprising to hear about rum from Taiwan. I think at this point, with all of the interesting rum stuff going on, kind of in the Far East, the Pacific regions over there between Japan and Thailand and Taiwan, I think even Laos, Indonesia, like there's a lot of places over there making interesting rum. But what was surprising about this rum, this is the one that they kind of went viral on Rum Nerd Internet, I guess, like in the last couple of years, because they do the crazy over-the-top transparency labels where it's like the entire back of the label is just like walls of text, and it's like literally any question you could ask about the rum almost would be answered by it.
You must love it, Will.
Yeah, exactly. I love those walls of text. But no, I think they could workshop that one a little bit more. But the rum itself. So this is what I wrote down about this rum is like if a high ester Jamaican rum and a Fijian rum walked into a bar and had too much sherry, it would be this rum. So this is another one that was only aged for 2 years. It was aged 2 years in American oak. I don't actually know if it was new oak or not. That part that's not on the label. So there you go. And then it was finished in a Fino sherry cask, but they did really long extended fermentation. So I think it's a 15-day fermentation. They used dunder in the fermentation, fermented with a wine yeast. It's all pot still. All molasses that I believe Renaissance, they grow their own sugarcane and then they have it refined locally into molasses there. And it wasn't so much that this is a Taiwanese rum that surprised me. It was just that a rum that tasted like this came from Taiwan because it has a lot of similarities with high ester Jamaican rum. And like I was saying, I get that Fiji funk influence in it as well. And the one thing, I do think this rum could be improved. I'm selecting this more just out of it truly did surprise me, as opposed to I think this is a perfect rum. I wouldn't rate this as something I would have to have a bottle of, particularly because I think this bottle was pretty pricey. Like I said, it was a Whiskey Exchange exclusive. I believe it was selected by Don Davies there. And I think it was like a little under 200 euros or so. So I was grateful to get a sample, 62% ABV, by the way. But it was just that this rum could exist in a place that is not the Caribbean was really surprising to me. And like I said, I think for me, I really love sherry aged rums when they're done right. And I'm not trying to say they did this wrong, but I think there's a little too much sherry influence on this rum for me. I'd love to try it if it hadn't had the finish, just to see the difference there. But it drinks really well for that 62% ABV proof, particularly, only being aged for 2 years. All kinds of, fun, crazy notes like sour fruit, chili, chlorine I wrote down, which I think is where the Fiji element plays in. Like milk chocolate. I wrote green onion ? So it was just a rum that like
who doesn't love that mix?
It takes you a lot of different places. And I also I'm really interested in this distillery. I read up on them a little bit more. I found like an article that I believe was written in, I think it might have been in Chinese maybe. I had to use Google Translate. And it was talking about all the different types of casks that they have there. And it's owned by a husband and wife, a French guy and a Taiwanese woman. And it's really small, only been around for a few years. Like I said, they're growing cane and getting it refined into molasses there. But they have all these different cask types. They had some Japanese. This is another one of those pronunciation words. I've read it a bunch of times, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not. But Mizunara oak barrels. And I know I know that's getting more popular in whiskey, particularly, of course, Japanese whiskey. Right. But that was they had so many different types of casks. So they're doing all sorts of interesting stuff there. They're doing the long fermentations, the high ester stuff, and I'm just excited to see what comes from them. But what this tasted like, I was just not expecting at all. It truly did surprise me. So, and that's one of the delights with rum, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick, and I think from our perspective here, and I'm specifically saying that as a preface, Asia feels like an untapped market right now for rum in terms of what we're getting over here. Taiwan and India and the Philippines and Japan and Thailand and more. So, there seems like there's a lot going on over there that we're not getting as exposed to, or that maybe perhaps there is just grassroots efforts or, smaller distilleries that are just kind of getting things out now and are starting to get across the globe. So I agree. I'm looking forward to more from that region and hopefully trying more next year. I agree.
Did you have a chance to try this yet?
I did try it.
What was your response to it?
So you kind of mentioned in the middle there exactly what my thoughts were, that I can see the promise here, but I also feel like it's not there yet in terms of me just saying I'm going to, put it on a recommended list.
Not there. If it were a lot cheaper, I think it would be there for me.
Number one.
But yeah.
Number two
the price
is
pretty high.
Yeah, there was just something that just didn't quite integrate to me just yet. I don't know if it was the Fino Sherry. I don't know if it was something different. It's good, not great.
Yeah,
is where my thoughts are with it. Okay.
So what surprised you this year?
My most surprising one is not surprising insofar as what the brand is, but it is surprising insofar as what the brand put out.
Okay.
And that is, so Holmes Key put out a whiskey/wine cask that I talked about a little bit with you, and we mentioned to some of our Patreon members on one of our meetings. And this was a pick from the Dallas-Fort Worth rum group.
Okay.
And if I recall, I actually picked as one of my favorite rums last year the Mauritius 2005 Holmes Key pick that they did.
Okay, that was the same Dallas.
So
Dallas
they're
club.
They're hitting hard on these picks.
Yeah.
That they are really doing well. This is a Foursquare Barbados Pot and Column Blend rum from 2007, and it is full strength at 58.6%, aged in ex-bourbon for 11 years. And here's the kicker. Then 4 years in casks that first held a red wine, an unnamed red wine, and then held English whiskey, and then the rum.
Okay, wow.
So this is a
whiskey.
third... Yes, a third.
I do remember talking about this now because I was like, "How much English whiskey is there?" Because
right,
yeah,
exactly. So I don't know, what English whiskey it actually was, or what red wine or anything. There's not a whole lot there in terms of that information. But what I do know is that 4 years in this cask, that is a third fill. I couldn't help but be interested when I saw this appear online, and I was like, "Oh, I've got to get my hands on one of these and try it," because it just felt different to me.
So what did the? I mean, I think it's surprising to see in terms of you see the specs on it, right? And it's like, what's going on here? Did that carry over to when you tasted it, or was it just like, oh, this is Foursquare?
No, it absolutely did. So that's what I wanted to finish by saying is not only is it most surprising because this is not something you see very often in the rum world to begin with, but also that it works. And it works really well. It's one of my favorite rums that I've tasted this year. Now, is it undeniably Foursquare? Yes, it is. It's 100% Foursquare. And what that actually to me is what makes it work. If this was too much whiskey and wine barrel in this, I think then it wouldn't appeal to me, or it might be a little off or weird. This is just off profile enough to be interesting and to be fun and to still be a great rum. Nice. So it plays very, very well together for this aged, like a total of 15 years. It tastes like a 15-year Foursquare Barbados rum with something different.
A little something extra. Yeah.
Yeah. And I packaged this one. I'm going to send this one to you soon too, because I want you to try this and see what you think also.
You're the man.
So you'll be getting this soon from me. But yeah, if you get a chance, and I don't know that there's much left at this point, it's worth the while. The slash barrel or the slash whiskey wine cask here, it does its job, and it's very surprisingly very good.
When you said Foursquare and surprising, I thought you were going to pick what is kind of my honorable mention for this category, which were the flurry of 20-year Foursquare pot still releases that came from several different independent bottlers. Holmes Key was one, Down Island was another. I know there were some European IBs that got their hands on some as well, but man, that stuff was surprising.
I was looking forward to that also, to try to, it made my short list, and I was trying to fit it in somewhere, and it just, it didn't quite win anywhere because it is surprising and it is good, but
you don't enjoy it as much
for whatever reason. It's not, it just didn't hit the heights. God, even saying it like that, it's bad. It was in contention for a lot of these categories. Let's put it that way. But for whatever reason, I picked something different. But the Down Island Barbados 2002, Holmes Key 2002. Was there another one? There was another one, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I know like there were, I think like 20 something of those casks or something. So there, if you see like there are a bunch of 20-year-old Foursquare pot still rums suddenly coming on the market, and I think
does not taste the same as the other ECS releases.
No, it's like if it's Foursquare, you can be like, oh, I can kind of see some crossover here. But if you don't know it's Foursquare and someone gives you that, I think most people would not guess that's what it is, because it's got like some Port Morency vibes to it in some way. It's something. Yeah, that was a surprising one as well. But okay, so we've got two left. I think we should save overall rum for the end. So should we go ahead and do our Am I the Asshole, rum I just didn't get or whatever? Should we do that now?
I think you should. I'm really looking forward to what yours is here. So
okay.
I feel pretty confident in mine.
So mine, it's not any one specific release, because there were a couple of these that I had this year. It's all from the same distillery though.
Okay.
I had a release from Holmes Key. I also had a release from Valenche and Mallet, which is European IB. Tin Cane rum. I don't get it, John. I don't get it. This is the other Trinidad closed distillery, not Coroni, but Tin Cane, which was a distillery in Trinidad that closed not many years, I think in the last decade. And you can still find some of the Tin Cane branded rums out there. Those are kind of like, you see a lot of pictures on rum forums and stuff like, hey, I got one, found a Dusty or whatever. But this year there was a flurry of more independent bottlings, because some of the casks from Tin Cane, were still out there. Various third-party brokers had them. Right. I think some of them were aging at Foursquare, because there was a whole relationship between Tin Can and Foursquare, where Foursquare ended up stealing some of their stuff at the end. But it's these were cane juice rums, the two that I had, and yeah, I think I know a lot of people. I saw a lot of people praising these releases,
including me.
I just don't get it. When I tasted these rums, I just felt like they're like ill-formed, like not fully formed, like it didn't know what it wanted to be. They just fell flat to me, and I just I couldn't grasp onto anything when I'm tasting them.
Have you had the original 10 cane?
I haven't had the original one, so I'm mainly speaking at to the longer aged, independently bottled, expensive ones.
Right,
right, and. I went back to them multiple times. I was like, what am I missing here? And I just came to the conclusion, like, these aren't for me. And it's funny because I was asking myself, if I had tasted Coroni back before Coroni Mania, because there were a bunch of companies that tasted that and were like, they passed
Hard
on
pass.
it. They didn't buy it because they were like, this is shit. Like, people won't like this.
Yeah.
Now, it's some of the most expensive rum in the world, and it has all the mystique from the distillery being closed. And so I was like, am I those people now? Like, because, it's another closed Trinidad distillery. And in my mind, I'm reading this and I'm thinking, like, the reason why this is appealing is just because it's like a closed distillery. But maybe I'm wrong. And maybe in 10 years, I'll be like, I could have bought bottles by the dozen of Tin Cane for, $130. And now they sell for $5,000, but at this point, I don't get it. Maybe it's not for me.
So here's
Am I the asshole?
Here's my take on this. You, but not you alone, are the asshole here. I think there are others that are probably with you.
My fellow assholes.
But I feel, number one, I really enjoy the Holmes Key. I haven't had the other one, the Valencian Mallet, but the Holmes Key 10K, I really do enjoy. But interestingly, as I mentioned earlier, I still liked the Raising Glasses Trinidad TDL better. I know there's two different distilleries, same aisle, but I still gravitated towards that one more than the Holmes Key 10K. I actually tried them back to back recently just to confirm that. And so I will give you that maybe the 10K isn't mind-blowing, at least from the Holmes Key Age release, but I still think it's really well done and integrated, and I enjoy it. So where I guess I kind of lose you is on the not well-formed part. I'm like, no, I don't see that. I do have the original 10 cane also. And I do think that that's a little bit closer to the Much Ado About Nothing because it's hard to find and all of that. It's super thin and light. And to me, not worth the hype it gets when people are like, oh my God, look what I found.
I think it was kind of designed for cocktails, right?
Yeah, if I remember, it's either 40 or 43 ABV. It's a low ABV rum. Not that condemns it in and of itself. I'm just saying it's very thin in its profile for me. Just going by memory, I haven't tried that one recently. But yeah, that one I felt like when I found it, I was like, okay. Yeah. I gotcha. So maybe you're picking up on that in the long aging process, and maybe the lack of character from the distillate is not working well for you once it gets that long aged. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I would just say, whether you agree or disagree vehemently with me, please let me know. Send us an email. I would love to hear Tin Cane takes from the rum universe out there.
So I feel like your saving grace here is I might get flamed more than you for this.
All right.
I'm not sure. I don't know what you're going to say. But so you mentioned, I think earlier, this was a sample that I tried this year from Kyle, who was generous enough to send this over from DC. And it's a well-known distiller. And in fact, one of their rums was on your best of already. I had such an anticipation to try this one. And was really looking forward to it and really ended up not liking it.
Okay.
And I need to know if I'm the asshole here.
Oh my God, no, I think I know what you're talking about. What is it? I might be an asshole with you.
Appleton Ruby.
Yes, I am your fellow asshole.
Okay, well, thank you. What is it they say in not Star Wars? What is it? Keep firing, assholes.
What is that? Spaceballs?
Spaceballs. Yes, that's what it is. Yeah, that's us right now. So here's what I found with this. I thought this was incredibly over-oaked.
Yeah.
To the point where I could not enjoy it. and I tried really hard. Like I mean, I only had a small sample that to work from, so I didn't try it in drinks or anything. But not that I would, because this is a blend of rums that's minimum age 35 years and up to 45 years. And I know it's in commemoration of Joy Spence and 40 years as a master blender. So from that perspective, it's very special and limited. But the rum itself, gosh, I really did not enjoy this one.
By the way, I don't know what the price is on this.
I think it's $800.
Yeah, you're right. It's listed out of stock on Total Wine, but the price was $730.
And it's 43%, so we're not talking a high strength.
I mean, just based on the specs, I was very excited to try this. And again, it's not saying like I regret trying it, or I'm really grateful to be able to try it.
Oh,
but
super, yeah.
I mean,
super thankful.
I pulled up my notes right here. I had good on the entry, so I think it started okay. And then I said lots of leather, finish very disappointing, falls flat, really thin. So yeah, I remember like the oak really does take over. But that was the other thing about it, was it felt thin to me, and it just kind of died. I was really perplexed by that, and so I would love to tar and feather you right now for the pick, but unfortunately, I might be right there in the stockades with you after after this goes live. I didn't get this one either.
Okay, well, I mean, hey, I'm glad to hear it, but it really just, I really was expecting to enjoy this one, or at least find something that was special. And this came off as decidedly not special. And, that's kind of the point of this, and you missed the boat there if you didn't nail that. The only thing I would want to say with this is what I don't want to happen in rum, is $800, $700 bottles that are marketed as super special, but they're not there with the actual rum and the flavor and what it brings. So, I would say buyer beware with this one, and just keep that in mind. Yeah.
Well, I can't disagree. I mean, John, you know how much I would love to call you an asshole right now, but I can't. Because I'm one too. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. No, I'd love to hear more from listeners as well on that one too. Yeah. So please,
if
let us know.
anybody's had a different experience or the same experience, like if you're agreeing with us, we want to know. Like we need to know: are we assholes with this one?
I love this new category, by the way. Okay, so wrapping things up, favorite overall rum of the year, John. I really thought about this one long and hard, because you can take this one in any direction. And what I tried to come back to at the end of the day was just, what was the rum that just I kept coming back to again and again throughout the year that I thought was really exceptional, even among the other releases from this distiller that I've liked. And then, you pointed out how I'm a big basketball fan earlier. And I know I
this one's a slam dunk.
I prepared the Christmas gift for LeBron James. That was a very special moment. Yeah. LeBron is not my favorite player, though.
I knew that. Yeah.
My favorite player of all time is Tim Duncan, who is retired now. Played for the San Antonio Spurs, won 5 championships, won 2 league MVPs,
and a fantastic guy too.
Yeah, a great guy. One of the top 10 players of all time, unquestionably. And the thing about him is, especially among hardcore NBA nerds, he's really known as being one of the best defensive players of all time. I think he made like a record number of all NBA defense teams. Just an amazing defensive player on top of his offensive gifts as well. But John, all these accolades in his long career, he somehow never won the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year award.
Really?
And every time, it's very surprising. And every time that award comes up, I think about it, and it's just the kind of thing where, like, year in and year out, he was great. Everyone knew he was great. Everyone knew he was one of the best in the NBA, if not the best. But just the timing of it, there was always some player that came and just had a great narrative that year or whatever, and he was never given that career achievement, and he should have been. And John, I don't want this annual tradition on the Rumcast, I don't want to look back in 20 years and be like, how did I never give this distillery my favorite
24th
overall
year of the Rumcast.
Yeah, how did I never give them my overall favorite distillery or rum of the year, even though I praised them all the time and recognized them as one of the best?
Okay. I see where you're going.
The only reason I had for not doing this was just because it's a popular pick and it's not surprising, and it's you know, it's kind of a mainstream pick. But John, I have to go with it. I have to give props to this release. The overall rum of the year for me was Foursquare Sovereignty.
Wow. That is surprising.
Is that where you thought I was going?
No, not at all.
What did you think I was going to do?
I don't know. I thought, where's Tim Duncan from again?
He's from the Virgin Islands, actually.
Virgin Islands? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought somehow you were making a connection there also. Crucian, rum of the year.
Not Crucian. Not going to go with
okay.
I think he's specifically from St. Croix, if I'm remembering correctly. But anyway, yeah.
Well, I don't know. For some reason, my brain was drifting that way. But, you know, I can't fault you for this. I haven't had Sovereignty.
You haven't had it yet?
I have not.
Oh, man. Okay.
But I've heard from you and a few others how really, really great it is, even amongst the ECS line, that it was a standout.
That's what did it for me, is I just felt like, you know, of all the ECS releases, and I've revisited a lot of them, even much older ones this year, and this one to me, it stands out as one of, if not the best to me. And as much praise as we give the ECS for its consistency and its kind of broad appeal, I think if I'm having one this year that I think is maybe my favorite of the ECS releases, it feels almost wrong to not select it for this, right?
No, I agree. I mean, it's not the most intriguing pick.
No, it's not a sexy pick.
Sold it. You sold it the right way, which is to say, look, this is deserving of this spot in every way. And maybe it's not trendy, but it is. It's not. What should be there.
It's not. It's not atypical or anything like that. Like it's right in line, but it's just it's literally an exceptional cask. And this is, you know, just to prove I don't have a sherry bias. This is a ex bourbon and ex sherry maturation for this one. 14 years old. And it's just great. If you haven't had it yet, try to find a bottle. I'm definitely going to get you some. So this was the rare time I bought a backup bottle of something. I usually don't do that, but I did that with this release. And
man,
I'm just getting to the end of my first bottle. So I actually brought it with me on the road for my Christmas travels, planning to kill it, you know, share it with family, that kind of stuff. The best way to empty a good rum, sharing it with friends as you indulge in holiday traditions. So that is my pick. I'm really interested to see what yours is.
You're making me feel so much remorse right now. Like, not only because I didn't buy it here in Miami, the one opportunity I had, but also because I saw it recently in Jacksonville as I was passing through. Damn. And I think it was around 130. And I was just like, I have so much Foursquare rum. And I was like, but it's Sovereignty, and then I left without it. And now the next ECS release is going to be Remorse.
Well,
the title
Remorse.
Remorse.
It's actually going to be Touchstone, but
Touchstone, yes, the one after that. But unsurprising, but also I totally get where you're going with it, and I hope to confirm that you made a good pick soon with tasting it soon.
We'll have to wait and see.
All right. My pick is also probably not as sexy. So we're ending on a less sexy note than the rest of it, but I feel like our lists overall are sexy. So
all right,
this is the least sexy part, but it's also the most deserving. And you mentioned this rum, so you talked about it already.
Oh, I did?
You spoiled the surprise for me a little bit.
Is this crossover?
It is crossover.
Oh man, yes. I thought we'd made it to the end with no crossover.
I know, we got so close. I'll mention my two runner-ups real quick. One of them we already mentioned, which was the Barbados 2002. I think I still like the Down Island one, just in terms of value, but the Homeski one was also incredible and was in the running.
Okay.
The other one that I really enjoyed is another independent bottler pick, Impex. Long Pond VRW 15 year.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to try that, but Oh,
very good.
Super great.
Yeah.
And maybe that comes down to the experience because I got to try that one with one of our listeners, Kim Michael, and in New York, and it was a really nice environment to try rums in, and sometimes that helps with getting you there with it. So I'm willing to admit with that Long Pond, maybe there was a little environmental thing with just the brandy library is where we were, and it was a really nice environment.
So trying rums
rum
at distilleries can play tricks on you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it wasn't a distillery in this case. It was just a nice venue, but it was very noteworthy, and I found it to be incredible overall. The best Long Pond I've had so far.
Okay, all right.
Okay, but my actual pick is the Homesky Fiji 2001. The 21 year. I know I'm going to get accused of being a Homesky fanboy because I think this might be the third year in a row that my best overall went to a Homesky. But you know what I say to that? Screw it.
Did you do it 3 years in a row?
I might be 3 years in a row. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't listen to every.
I might have to boo you for doing that. Come on, 3 years in a row is
you
too
can
much.
boo me. Boo me. And any listeners out there, you want to boo me? Go ahead. I am a fanboy of Homesky because they are bringing consistently to my market the best rums available. And I don't know what else to say. Like, my heart is where my heart is, and they do not pay me. We haven't had Homesky as a sponsor in a very long time. And like, I don't know what else to say. They're bringing these rums consistently year over year that are things that I've not been able to get in other ways, and they stand out. And you mentioned it earlier. I mean, there's nothing I can say.
I can't fault you too much since I did pick this for a different category. So
yeah, I mean, it's a 21-year Fiji, which I've never seen elsewhere. It absolutely brings with it something that the other releases, although great from Homesky and other Fiji releases have, that is that funk, that Fiji characteristic. This one just steps it up a notch to the best overall rum I had this year.
Yeah.
So I can't. I'm conflicted. Like I said, I really had a thought of like, do I go against it and pick something else because it's Homesky? And I was like, no, that's stupid.
Right.
I'm going to pick the best rum I had this year.
To go back to our Tolkien, George R. R. Martin conversation earlier, this is a choice that Ned Stark would make. You know, even if it comes at a personal reputational cost, he won't betray his honor. So this is how you feel in your heart of hearts, and that's what you're going with.
I'm ready to get my head chopped off after the first season. Oh wait, is that a spoiler now?
I was just about this. I was just about to say something similar, but like at this point, you know, spoilers. The spoiler window is over.
Yeah,
so.
I think so.
Okay, wow.
So there it is. That is my best overall rum that I've tasted this year. That has hit my lips.
Well, as always, this was a really entertaining exercise for me to sit here and hear your picks unveiled. Hopefully,
same here.
Hopefully, listeners enjoy it, and I'd love to hear your picks. If you have, obviously, you know, we already mentioned if you have thoughts on any of the ones we made, we'd love to hear about that. But what were the standouts to you? Whether you use the categories we listed or not, love to hear what those are. Send us an email, host@rumcast.com. Hit us up on social media. John, where can they find us there?
Yeah, we're at the Rumcast. We've been there all year, and that's not changing now. At the Rumcast at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So check us out on any of those platforms. Comment, leave us some notes, some DM us if you want through there. We love to hear from you. We love to hear about what your picks are. Some really great daiquiris, by the way. We got on our social media tags recently that people made. Some of them they tried from our picks. Some of them they showed their own and what they were doing. Love seeing that, and it really does keep us going with the conversation and keeps the conversation going, I should say. So yeah, one thing we didn't do this year, Will, is share our memorable moments from the podcasting from different interviews. But we should just kick that to the next episode for our start of the year episode and talk about that, and that would be fun to do. So yeah, if you had any of those memorable moments and you want to pitch those in and say what your favorite moments were, maybe we can talk about those for our next episode and our first of 2023.
Yeah, would love to hear it. But either way, I believe this podcast will be releasing a day or two after Christmas, probably. So hope everyone is having a great holiday season. Hopefully you're able to take a little time to relax, indulge in some traditions, however you celebrate. Hopefully you're on your way towards a happy New Year's celebration. and we can't wait to go through another year with all of you. So definitely we've got some great stuff planned, getting out there, getting interviews on the books for 2023. So it's fun to look back, but even more fun to think about what is to come next. So looking forward to going through it with all of you.
All right. Happy holidays, everyone. See you next year.
Cheers.